Hi, Miss Kramer. This is my mom, Diane.
Hi.
We're going to be going back into the 1970s. So, are you ready?
Let's see what I can remember.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, you were a child when this happened. During the 1960s, it was a huge cultural revolution. It was incredible. But how do you think it trickled over into the 70s?
Oh, everything trickled over. The music, from the Beatles to all sorts of rock and roll, the peace signs. You had older men wearing leisure suits now and long hair. And it just everything kind of mainstreamed. A lot of drugs, a lot of clothes. Kind of some of the clothes that I think some of you guys wear now.
It's more stylish.
Yeah.
Anyways,
it's true. It's changed.
But so now Nixon, he's in his second term, and an energy crisis occurs. Why? Why do you think it occurred?
I was probably going into high school at the time. I remember OPEC, which was an oil cartel, put an embargo on us because we aided Israel during the a war, Yom Kippur, I think it was against Egypt, and so they embargoed us. And we had to be rationed. I remember my mother getting up about 5 o'clock in the morning.
Granny.
She had to go sit there on a gas line. They'd bring her blankets, and you were only allowed maybe every other day to get gas. I think it rose 400%, something like 30 cents to, I don't remember the exact number, maybe $1. But I think that Nixon had price controls, and whatever it was, it didn't work. And after this crisis, miraculously, I remember no more
just like that, and then more.
Just all of a sudden, it just stopped, and then nobody talked about it again. But it did give way for people to start thinking about smaller cars and more fuel-efficient cars. Because when we did buy my car in 1974, I had one of the first imports. I had a Toyota Corolla that we bought for $3,000, and so that gave way to that market probably after that.
So basically, in your opinion, you're kind of saying that the energy crisis was just hype.
Well, it was just, it was supply and demand, I guess, and it was just a lot of,
Interesting. Well, so now, all at this time, we have the Cold War still going on, and this is going on forever now. We have containment still going on, but how did you see Nixon's stance towards this?
I remember my dad liked Nixon. At that time, the Russians were our enemy. Nobody knew about Russia. And I remember him watching TV and him going to visit, I believe it was Brezhnev. And then he also visited a leader in China, too. And that was really big. Everybody was glued to the TV. So that was a big task for him to accomplish.
Did you personally ever meet any Russians
at
the time?
No,
really?
Russians were considered our enemy. I don't think I met any Russians until I met your dad in the 80s. Her dad was a Russian who defected from Russia, actually. So it was very interesting to meet Russian people and hear behind the Iron Curtain. I mean, now there's so many Russians here. It's really no big thing. But at that time, it was.
It was just a rarity. That's really cool. So now we're going into civil rights. Did you personally ever see any segregation going on?
No. I was raised in New Jersey, and I remember seeing the Martin Luther King, seeing the Martin Luther King funeral, and hearing about the assassination on TV. That was in the 60s, so I was young.
Right.
And I remember a lot of teachers, teaching us to be open about civil rights, but basically I was in an all-white neighborhood.
So there was no black?
No.
Even after there were integration laws, you never saw a black student?
I was in New Jersey. They didn't do integration with busing in the schools. They did it in the South, Virginia, Georgia.
Okay.
I didn't have that.
So never, it was more of a Southern issue. What did you think? Okay. So now we're going to go over to Carter. And but beforehand, we had the Watergate scandal. And, it was a shameful time for Republicans, obviously. Because here is their leader, and now this whole thing is going on, dishonesty, more distrust towards the government. Did you actually see that in your neighborhood, was there a lot more speculation towards believing the federal government?
What it did give way to was it gave way to Jimmy Carter because he came on the air with his I'm a peanut farmer and I'm wholesome and I'm not going to lie to you, and that's why he got elected.
Perfect lead into Carter administration, Mom. Well, so now you're a college girl at Boulder, Colorado. That's what's up, during 1976. And that's already a radical school. And you're going during a radical time, the 70s.
Not as radical.
But still, socially, did you find any benefits from Carter? Because he's given such a horrible reputation. Did you see any benefits?
Carter was one of the worst presidents outside of Obama, in my opinion. But what he did do, my brothers and I were able to get, I think I got a basic grant, very cheap, had a really low interest rate for my education. And my dad died, and I was able to have Social Security payments all through college. So my brothers and I both say that we did benefit. That was one benefit we got from Jimmy Carter. Is the education.
See, so you benefited. So now, at a time where feminism it was at its all-time apex, and it's kind of still at its all-time, but it's more.
Well, I wasn't around when they were burning the bras, but.
But it's still a revolution going on. You have women getting involved in the business world, the corporate. What was it like being in Colorado and seeing?
Backtracking a little bit, I do remember in the early 70s not wearing a bra. Come to think of it, it was a banning the bra movement for the feminists, and a lot of women were not wearing the bras. Because I remember wearing halter tops and no bras, but that's sidetracking.
I can't decide if I'm going to edit this out now.
I remember. In Boulder, that women in the late 70s, there weren't that many people going to business school. And by the time I graduated in 79, there were a lot more women. So women were preparing to go into careers and sales and jobs that were normally for men. So you saw a lot of that, which gave rise to the...
So towards the end, you saw an
increase going on. Yeah, a lot of women getting into business.
That makes sense. So now, under his economics, Carter's economics, how did you see it as?
Carter was a big spender. There was high inflation. I think one thing that struck me the most was when I graduated college and I met a friend, and she was buying a house, and the interest rate was 18%. So that's what we were dealing with Jimmy Carter. 18% interest rates for homes, high inflation, high unemployment, and we were very... Politically, we were just...
But you just said, hold on, you just said high unemployment. Was it difficult, because you graduated in the late 70s, 79, was it difficult for you to find a job?
When I got out of school, I worked for an airline. I worked for Continental Airlines. And probably, actually, to Carter's benefit, 79 was the year that the airlines were deregulated. That was one thing that Carter did. He deregulated certain industries.
Right.
I think it was trucking and airlines.
Okay.
So I... actually benefited in that aspect.
So you benefited in education. Jimmy Carter's a great guy.
I don't know about that. I don't. No, not at all.
So now we're progressing into the Shah of Iran. There was this huge thing going on. What were you? So this is also known as a time where radical Islam gave way. It's America's supporting the Shah.
Shah of Iran was overthrown in 1979. And he was overthrown by a radical Islam group, and the mullahs, the Ayatollah Khomeini, took over. And Jimmy Carter befriended the mullahs. I've read books that say that he actually supported them. But what they did do was there was a hostage crisis. When they did overthrow the Shah, they took our hostages, American hostages. And that did nothing for Jimmy Carter's reputation, because he tried to capture them. He was a failure. He looked weak. He didn't do anything. And that was a pivotal point in our history, because that did give rise to radical Islam. That was the beginning of
I don't know if you know this or not, but we learned this in APUSH for the hostage crisis. Did you know that they actually were released when Reagan took over?
I know they were,
Oh,
and
well,
it made
I thought
Reagan
it was
look
special.
great. It made Reagan look great. It really did.
Your
Because
Reagan.
Reagan came in and you know, and they released him. You know, because Jimmy Carter internationally, Jimmy Carter was deemed as weak and timid and indecisive. And when Reagan came in, because I traveled to Europe during that time, Reagan had a very strong demeanor, and people were, you know, respected him more.
Makes
They really
sense.
did.
Makes sense. Well, thank you for joining us. And, all right. Well, I guess this concludes the 1970s.
Yeah, I hope I didn't ramble too much. Thank you.
No.
Bye.
All right. Bye.